I spent over 50 hours playing Vyse already, and I have my opinion about which maps is she best on. So this is the video when I will share with you my tier list for the maps that you should consider playing Vyse, or maybe you should not. Let's go. Today's episode is sponsored by Elgato. Go to elgato.com for the newest hardware for streamers, use the link from the description below and the code for 5% off. Thank you Elgato for sponsoring the stream. Now let's preface this tier list with the fact that Vyse is not the best as a solo sentinel. There are maps when you can play her as a solo sentinel, but there are maps also that don't really benefit that. In a way that, let me explain it this way. You only have one trap. It's in a very specific way built on the map. So not always you are able to be an anti-flanker with just the one wall. And that also is like dictates the way that you play around the map. But on defense, there are maps which you don't benefit even at all from the wall if you put it on site as you should. So as an example, we're gonna start with Icebox, which is in my eyes probably the worst. I mean, for now it is the worst map for me at least to play Vyse on, because there's no way of using it effectively to control mid, which is something that typically sentinels on this map do, right? So let me explain. On Icebox, you typically have a problem if you don't have anything to control mid. You don't have a killjoy turret, like for example over here, looking onto players crossing to kitchen. A chamber is putting a trap for kitchen here as well, for example, and this way they can still play site like B and control mid at the same time, right? That is not possible with Vyse. She is pretty strong on sites as like a sentinel that just holds the site, but that is just her role. She's gonna have that role on every single map. She's gonna be good on holding the site, but it's also she's gonna be better on sites that have choke points. This map has no choke points. There are no choke points over here. There's no way that you can benefit fully from the wall. Like you can put the wall on A. Like for example, we can put the shear here in front of generator, but that's about it. Like we can cut off maybe the player coming onto site when he tries planting to be cut off. As a solo player, we can try putting the wall over here, isolate the players when they go to site as well, try to spam the box then when someone's stuck here. But overall, can players just jump over to yellow, like with a jet updraft and be like over your stuff. And the flash is not really effective on A side because there are so many nook and crannies on this map. So again, after playing so many hours on her, Icebox is not the map that I'd really enjoy playing her on. Now, the second map that I probably will not enjoy her a lot, I tested her in customs, but I didn't play a match, like a real ranked match with Vyse on Breeze. But we're gonna include the other maps that are not currently in the map pool as well, because I did test the utility on those maps. So in my eyes, Breeze is gonna be better than Icebox, but definitely not the best map. Like, let's say it this way: it's playable. It feels better than Icebox, that's for sure. Why? Well, the thing is that on Icebox, you're able to completely decimate any kind of executes on A by putting a wall over here, or like this, right? There's the two walls that I can do on A. Let me actually use just this instead. So one of the walls is literally like this, allows you to cut off diagonally and make a kill trap on this spot as well with some mollies and stuff, right? And you can put a wall like this as well. They absolutely stop any kind of execute, and the distance that to detect the wall is 4 meters, so people will have to commit to trigger this wall. There's no way of like just jump peeking and getting this wall to trigger, because you're gonna get killed. You're gonna be out in the open. So she single-handedly can just cover A side very efficiently. The flash is gonna be very efficient as well, because there are so many open spaces, not many things you can hide behind like on Icebox. So holding A side is gonna be dramatically improved with Vyse. And then on B, unfortunately, there's no way of putting like the wall somewhere on stairs over here. So the only way of putting the wall is actually in the choke point, which makes it way worse. That's why I would prefer to play on A, because this wall can be triggered, especially if someone's hiding in the smoke. So my solution to this, if you would like to play on breeze right here, right, you have to put the wall on the edge of this choke point. Then if you smoke it, then you need to do it like this. Very, very deep. So the wall is like in front of it and not inside of it. So people who are hiding in the smoke, doesn't matter if it's a Viper orb, Omen smoke or whatever, but if it's put this way, they're not able to see the wall. So they're gonna be stuck in the smoke. And if they want to jump out and trigger it, then they would have to commit out of the smoke and you can shoot them while doing that, right? So that is pretty strong. Other walls that you can do here is like this, which can funnel people into your hands, which is not bad. You can also put the wall to like cut off players that are going on site and isolate them. So it's not terrible. And the flash is gonna be good on B as well because there's so many places you can put on. But in general, she is not bad on this map, actually, when I think about it. And then when you're on attack, well, essentially your wall is able to hold permanently the A push because this is not destructible, right? So if they don't have any mobility, they have to trigger the wall to announce their positions. No shock towers will destroy it. And then the flash on this map is pretty good as well on attack because there are so many open spaces and you can hit the flash through so many walls over here. You can even go to holes and use the flash and on A side like a breach. Like it's actually pretty decent. The mollies are actually also very decent because they are so huge. You're able to like look at this. Like this is pretty huge. You can cover it like this way, so this player doesn't get damaged in the corner, but he cannot move out. So that gives you an edge on like peeking out and killing him. You know, like all of that stuff is actually pretty good for this map. Now, the next map is gonna be a pretty hot take, I think, or like a controversial take, because people are telling me that this is one of her best maps, and I don't think so. I actually heavily disagree. I actually think it's gonna be even probably worse than Breeze. Is Bind. Bind is an okay map, but is also again not really efficient. Like the B side hold is okay, but you have 2 choke points. You can cover only one with the wall, and like holding A side is actually horrible. Like there's no way to describe it. Like holding A side with Vyse really doesn't feel good. The players are typically going from short. You have like some rays jumping over everything. You have Jet updrafting. Holding showers with a wall is not really like, you don't want to do that. You don't want to sacrifice the wall on the showers like this, because players are typically like not even getting out of showers till it's already too late. So isolating one player doesn't also matter because there would have to be more than one, right? So you have to like wall you have to wall A side, A short, so you can isolate maybe a player going to lamps. Like that's one of the possibilities, but this can be triggered accidentally as well, so that's not good. If you want to put the wall over here, like it has to be put after the barrier drops down, because you cannot put this wall before the barrier drops down. I thought this is gonna be more impactful, I'll be honest with you. I think this is still a good wall, but when I tested it out on day 1, I thought it was gonna be sick. But unfortunately, the way that players are playing, they rarely get caught in this because of the way that they move. Like they are pretty scared bunnies, you know, and they go here and they see the wall. Like instead of going to the side and like fighting for backside, they like go slowly here into cubby and just take, and they accidentally see the wall. So that's not good. Like on B side, essentially the best wall that you can use is this one right here. Like that's the best one that you can definitely use, because it gets triggered only when they actually do an execute. They cannot trigger it manually by just like doing something and going back, right? So they have to commit. There's no way of walling hookah efficiently unless you do it this, and that is a horrible wall that gets easily triggered and just doesn't do anything. The flash is pretty good, not gonna lie. On defense here, you can get easily kills with the flash, but you should be able to do that with any flash, right? And in general, she just doesn't feel that impactful on this map on defense, because there's too many entrances to the sides, and that's not easy way of you being efficient as a solo sentinel over here. And on attack, Well, your wall is not, you're never gonna get a full flank control. You always have to worry about, wait, did they actually go through somewhere else or not? Because there's no way of putting one wall, like a chamber trap over here, that covers everyone walking through. So if you put the wall like this, they can walk through spawn. If you put the wall over here, well, they're gonna be able to go through market and so on. So there's not an efficient way of making sure that you're not getting flanked with just Vyse. So it's an okay map. People like playing Vyse on her, on bind, but I'm not a fan. I feel like this map is actually kinda bad for Vyse, and it definitely can be played with her as a solo sentinel. For the next tier, I'm just gonna put both maps because they're so similar. Lotus and Haven. Again, maps that would, in theory, should feel pretty good when you play them, but they do not. The reason for that is, again, you are kinda inefficient at holding multiple sites, which other sentinels will do. So if you play with a Killjoy and Cypher and Vyse, this map is pretty sick for Vyse, because then you can efficiently lock down the other side, and Cypher or Killjoy is controlling C and B, or A and B at the same time, right? Like Killjoys typically put like a turret over here, which, by the way, I think it's incredibly bad. I think a better turret is if you play C, this is a better turret, because you're able to like force people out to actually commit and destroy it. This is very scary to peek into because you can get easily killed, right? If you peek out and try to kill the turret, you can get easily killed by any of the players holding site. So if you hold C, I would prefer highly to play this Killjoy turret. And if you play A, you can just play Killjoy turret over here, but this one can be smoked off, so maybe you put it over here like this, right? So this is also not bad. And it allows you to control it the same way, like people have to peek out to destroy it. And Cypher, well, whatever, yeah, right, you just put one trap. But my point is, as a solo sentinel, you have to commit with Vyse for one site. You do a wall on C, you do razor wines, you do a flash, and that's it. Like you need those utility pieces to cover your own site. You cannot do anything on B, you cannot do anything on A, right? So you have to commit with your util for the side that you hold. If you're holding B, you're committing to the wall, you're committing to the razor wines, you're committing to the flash. For example, if you play A, wall, razor wine, flash over here, right? Second razor wine over here, for example, and you hold your side. So you're never efficiently like playing on a free side map. The same way on Haven. On attack, you're holding off essentially only one wall. It holds up like if they're gonna push A, but you don't know if they're pushing B or C, for example. So you never really feel efficient if you're playing solo sentinel. If you're playing double sentinel, that's different. Your role is different. Then you're more or like a supplemental sentinel and initiator than anything else, and then it's playable. But yeah. The same feels for Haven. Like on the Haven, you have an incredibly strong C hold. Like I don't think there's a better C hold than Vyse on C. I'll be honest with you. Like if you put a wall right here, maybe a jet will updraft and will not trigger it, but then the first person going through will trigger that wall, and you have a 1v2 with full util that you have on site. With easily like isolation of the angles, you can easily get people killed. The flash is giga strong, can be put anywhere here on the backside of C, and the razor wines are covering it just essentially anything that you want on this side. So you can single-handedly just hold the fort of the C side entrance, but then again, you don't have anything for double doors. If you put the razor wine there, well, you don't even know when to trigger it, right? So she feels bad in the same way that on Lotus. Like it just doesn't feel great. Three sides, you cannot hold this map alone with Vyse. On attack, you cannot again have any certainty on anti-flanks with just the one wall. And she's like okay, but not great. She's just not impressive, you know, on either of those maps, unless you play already with a Killjoy or a Cypher. But then you are not playing a Sentinel, you're just playing some kind of hybrid that doesn't really fit into any of those roles. So in general, like Lotus and Haven, I tried liking her on this map, and she's playable, but it doesn't feel like super efficient. Even when there are choke points on those maps, because of the free sites, they don't feel good to play with her on those two maps. For literally the same reasons that I just explained on Haven and Lotus, we're gonna put Fracture on the same tier. Even though this map has only two sides, she feels very similar on Fracture, like she feels on Haven and Lotus, because there's too many ways and kind of like a bind. You know, like if you combine the issues from Heaven, Lotus, and Bind, you get Fracture. But you get the benefit of having a lot of choke points, so you can get a lot of value out of Vyse because of that. Because you're able to do like some sick walls over here on this map. Like holding B is incredibly strong with the wall, like just being put in any kind of like position over here. Like there's so many good walls that you can do in this map on both sides. But then again, you have multiple ways of going onto the site, and you cannot cover everything, and your flash because of that is a little bit less efficient as well. So you have to play it like if you either have to play with the flash very efficiently towards one direction or inefficiently against every direction, so you don't really have like a good way of being efficient all the time, right? And then on attack, well, yeah, there's no way of holding a flank with her, right? So you have the same issues. Not as a solo sentinel, as a supplemental sentinel, she's fine. You have also one flash additional for the attack, which is okay. But in general, like you fortify one side, and then you can't really help in any other meaningful way. Still to the other entries to the same site, right? Like if you put a wall on A, well, what do you do with the drop? Do you put the reservoir that you don't know when to trip? Like it's really hard. Which way you flash? Do you put the flash over here so you like affect this and that, or just this, or just like here? Like, you know, there's so many questions that you have to ask yourself when playing on this map to be efficient, and because of that, you put like obstacles in front of yourself just because you play Vyse. So this doesn't feel great to play. It's also not terrible. So kind of like a better bind for you a little bit because of bigger amount of choke points, but very similar fashion. But yeah, not a fan of Fracture for her, but definitely feels better. Definitely feels better than any of those free maps. And now we're going to the good territory, I would say. So let's start with the one that is out of the pool, Pell. Pell, I think, is gonna be sick because there's so many good walls that you can do here. Like on B side, guys. Like I tested it out. There are some sick walls. You can do a wall even like this. Like that's pretty drastic. Like how do you trigger that without getting killed? You have to play some aggressive and creative smokes to avoid getting killed before this to trigger this wall and just like wait out the 8 seconds. Like it's pretty sick. Then you can do like walls that isolate players that want to plant. Like there's so much stuff that you can do. Put a wall over here that triggers when someone tries planting, like goes quickly to plant, and then you isolate and you get the spike control. Someone goes into the into elbow area, you isolate them easily. You get the kill. Like of course, if you get the kill, right? There's so many things. Flash is incredibly efficient as well here because they're all coming from one direction, right? So this, as a side fortifier on Pell, you can do so much. A side is very similar. You can do the wall that is also incredibly tough to trigger. So you isolate the execution as well. And because of how this map works with mid, it's not that easy to make actually pushes through art, through other players, right? So this is, it doesn't share the same issues that Fracture and Bind have, and because of how efficient you're holding the only choke point that leaves first to the side, right? There are other parts of the other phases that you go through as an attacker over here that you have to go through before you attack into sight, and this is something that Fracture and Bind don't really have. So you feel way more efficient at holding your own side. You still cannot really help with the other angles, right? Unless you play aggressive flashes, but it feels really good to play parallel with Vyse. And on attack, unfortunately, again, you're not gonna be super duper effective, but at least you can put a wall that allows you to hold. Like if you're committing to A, at least you're gonna know if you're gonna get flanked or not with this wall, but it's not feeling super great. So again, she's like, this would be one of the first maps I would say that she can be played as a solo sentinel and doesn't feel bad. because she's so efficient with the defense on her own on one of the sides. On attack, she feels definitely worse, but still, hell, Razor Wine is actually incredibly helpful on getting side control. Like this makes sure that no one is standing here. This makes sure that no one is like peeking out here, or if they peek, they die. Like on B side, you can completely stall anyone peeking out of elbow. Like there's many things that help you out here in taking side control. So Bell, when it's gonna get back, I feel like this is gonna be the maps that you will see a lot more Vyse if people realize the things that I just described. All right, next map, what are we gonna put? We're gonna put first map into the S tier, and that's gonna be Sunset. Sunset is just so rough to play against Vyse. So rough. Like the way that she holds B is, I don't know if even pro teams will find a solution to this. Like this is actually such a big problem for like the only way of making sure that you can actually attack into B side is fully coordinating that all the players go through this wall at the same time. Otherwise, executing into B side feels incredibly bad. Like the typical setup that I do is this. Like this, you know? And then a flash, depending on the situation, or whether I play from backside or market, like goes over here, 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 like sometimes even on the backside, depending on what exactly is happening. Sorry, not on this side, but like backside here, right? Because if you play for market, they will look into your direction, so you fully flash them and not flash yourself. So it's like there's so many things that you can play, and there's no way that people will trigger this wall without committing to the side. So you can isolate always a player, and if they commit with full 5 people through this wall at the same time, that by the way never happened to me in ranked yet, right? They will all go into the Razor Wine, get fully flash or half flash, and you're able to get 1 for 0 and get out, or like get multiple kills and get out. If you get a help from anyone else, you get multi kills here because they're all stuck. Like it's so powerful. And there's literally not a single piece of utility that helps you out with this, because you cannot destroy the wall. It has to be triggered. And if it has to be triggered while committing, because the wall is so deep onto the side, I don't know. I'm very curious to see how teams will play this. Like maybe to some degree Sage would be an answer to this because of the wall, like, you know, trying to like block off like the most potent angles when you're going through. Like, but it's really rough. Or maybe just multiple dive, right? Maybe you play 3 duelists with mobility and just go like, yeah, chuck it, just send it on site, you know? Like holding B side single-handedly makes her in, like, this alone is enough to make her just incredibly playable, because then you just have like you holding B, someone helps you market, and then you have like 3 players holding A. Specific also when the market player can just literally close market doors and go to mid, because players will not want to go B main at all after seeing this kind of setup. They will do it once, they will lose, right, typically, and they will go like, nah, we're going from mid or just straight up to A. So you can just put this every round, and it's so strong. It's so strong. And if, you know, Sunset with 2 sentinels, like if you have a Killjoy or a Cypher with Vyse here, then that Cypher is playing just put a trap on mid, plays A, or both traps on mid, and plays A with 1 player, and 1 player goes mid. Like this, it's incredibly efficient. It's incredibly strong. Even playing on A side is incredibly strong because you can isolate the elbow player easily with the wall. If you put it like over here, and that isolates a kill because you can literally just do this. Like when they commit, they trigger the wall. You have a second one to stop the push from this side. So for 10 seconds, you're able to just isolate the gunfight into this. If you're a good shooter, like you're gonna get beneficial gunfights for you every single time. So you're gonna feel very efficient. The flash on elbow is incredibly rough to dodge. There's so many good stuff that there's so much good stuff that you can do. You know, you can put the flash a little bit deeper if you play off the wall, and then still have like an angle for holding the other entrance. Like really, it's incredibly efficient. Problems attack, of course, on attack, because you can only put 1 wall that holds either B push or A push. But at the same time, it's not terrible because there's if you do that, you can single-handedly then hold mid, or like put pressure on mid with destroying the walls, and you can get 100% informations if someone is flanking you. So that's something. But just the amount of choke points that you have on this map, or like the quality of hold that you can put on those choke points, is putting this map in S tier for me. And it's incredibly annoying to play against, I bet. Like, it's incredibly annoying to play, because there's no counterplay to the wall here, apart from just triggering yourself. All right, let's talk about Split. I know it's not in the map poll, but it's coming back soon. And I'll tell you this. Absolutely devastating to play against Vyse. I didn't play a single ranked map yet on Split, but I know that this map is gonna be a pain in the ass. There's just no way of going through a main very similarly to be on Sunset. Like, you just putting a shear, and good luck, my friends. If you don't have mobility agent that can just go over to heaven, then Vyse just single-handedly holds this. Now, the problem for Vyse is that if there is a jet updrafting or like race satchling on heaven, then there is a problem here, right? Which is not present on Sunset, which essentially, I should probably put it this way, like, it's still incredibly powerful over here with this hold, and you can single-handedly just mow down people that are going through this wall and being isolated. And again, they have to commit to trigger this wall, so you can play off it. And if you have potentially like dive agents, remember, you can always put like a razor wine like this. It's kind of crazy that you can do this and affect both heaven and the ground at the same time. And like when they go and trigger the wall, they get into the razor wine. When someone goes on top of this, you pop the razor wine and they're affected as well, and they're kind of stuck in that position. So you can pick your moment to choose to attack that guy that went to heaven by like using mobility to go there. B side, it's extraordinary as well. Like, people have to commit to go out, and then you just pop the razor wines. They cover almost everything over here. Like, it's rough. And I didn't even mention the flashes. Like, I know you are not holding mid, you're not holding heaven, you're not holding heaven here, but the quality of the hold on site is so strong. And think about it this way as well. Typically what happens in ranked, not in pro play, right? In pro play, we don't really know what's going to happen. But in ranked, what happens if when people go and commit to the execute and they get stopped because of the wall for 8 seconds, you get isolation on one guy. Like, let's say the jet just dashed through and went onto site, and you get isolation on her for 8 seconds. This wall is up. When you're gonna flash that jet at the beginning of the execute, right? Like, you wait to the smoke to go down, her smoke where she was dashing for, right? You wait for that, you pop it. That's 6 seconds that are still on the wall. You try to kill the jet, you kill the jet, you totally stop the execute in its tracks. But not only that, this flash is coming back in 14 seconds. And this typically this team is not gonna go like super fast after that jet dies, because they get demoralized. And if you have a second razor wine, you pop the second razor wine, or like throw it if you didn't place it or something, and this is another 10 seconds. Once this stops existing, then you have your flashback for this secondary push that could happen, but probably will not. So you have like 2 phases, and this applies to every map that you have such kind of choke point. So it's really rough to against that. If you're really good at isolation of angles and like knowing when to strike when that wall goes up, and the opponents are kind of struggling to adapt to the way that you put your setups, is really rough. Like, this map is gonna be sick for Vyse. I wouldn't be surprised if we're gonna see like double sentinel setups, because their defense is gonna be so efficient. And on attack, you have a lot of potential like lineups or the razor wine to help you take sites. Like, there's a lot of stuff that helps you, like making sure that you're gonna get control of this area, you know. And the wall in post plant, if you don't have to use it as a trap, is still very efficient. Like, putting the wall on B here like this, like you have to put it like over here to make it triggered always, but it permanently holds the B push, you know. So you kind of do your job. Like most Cypher players don't really efficiently even put traps. As a Cypher player, you can put 2 traps in barrier time. Like you first put the trap on A, then you go towards B, you put the trap on B, and then you play like mid or B main. But not many Cypher players are actually doing that. So I feel like she can be played as a solo sentinel on split. Is incredibly powerful. All right, now we have 2 maps left. We have Abyss and Sunset. So where do we put Abyss? No, we put Abyss into A tier. It's like, it's good, but it's not fantastic. But it feels so good in like many situations on this map that you cannot really say it's a bad map for her. And you have to say it's a good map actually for her, because the quality of holds again are incredibly efficient. On A side, I'll tell you this: when I played A side on ranked, I never had team avoid A side so much. Like, they just tried to go through for this wall. Like, you put it on the edge of the box, like literally on the edge of the box. You put it like this, then you have 2 razor wines, one being this, the other being this, like here. That's what I like to do, because then they cannot jump up easily on top of the site because of their slowdown, you know. And it's like when the wall commits, I have a flash on the backside over here. So wall pops, I flash, I pop razor wines, I get isolation on 1 or 2 players that are typically like stuck and in panic, and you just get easy picks, easy kills, and then the execute is stopped, and that's it, and everything's ruined. And like, you cannot really destroy the wall. It's the same issues that you have on Sunset, discussed already. So A hold is just so monstrous. It's incredible. I had Neon players in panic jump off the map accidentally because they just go commit. I pop the flash, razor wines, and they just fall off the map because they're blind, but they're panicking, you know. Like, I had players doing that multiple times. Well, actually multiple times, twice it happened, but that's still like twice in a week. That's a lot, right? Then the B hold is also pretty sick because you have not that efficient but very creative setups like this one. I love this one. You put this on the edge of the top of the B side here, like on the corner in here, so it covers both top side and the back side over here. The wall makes sure that it gets triggered when players actually commit, and you can isolate the player now that pushes the wall, and you do it this way. And then the flash anywhere here on the backside, so it's very hard to know which position the flash will be at. Like, depending on where you play, you can put it in a way that affects both lanes for you. And yeah, good luck. It's a little bit harder to hold this than on A side, but it's really efficient, and you can do cute stuff like putting the wall over here and trying to like get a kill with someone jumping through, but that won't happen a lot. But it is possible. But there's a lot of efficient stuff that you can do on this map. On attack, it feels worse because you are not efficiently holding the flank, but the defense just gives you so much potential like efficiency that I perceive this map just be so playable in defense that it's worth playing Vyse on this map. And you can like you know, you always have a possibility of putting a wall just to cover the potential A push, right? So that's something. It's not a lot, but it is something, because you still have to play on mid. Like, I heavily disagree with 5 people hitting one side. Like, this map has to be covered mid. So if you convince people to actually play mid, you're gonna have a better time with Vyse on this map. And Vyse herself can also like get really aggressive flashes on attack, like for early game to get informations denied vision on this angle, for example. Like, you can do like a breach flash over here, and that helps you attacking on this map. Like, I really think that Abyss is great. Well, we're left with one map, and where does this map go? Is Ascent terrible for her? No, it's actually the best map. The best map of the entire game for Vyse is the worst map in the game. For me, it's Ascent. Ascent is so basic, it's so choke pointy, it's so narrow that she just feels oppressive on this map. She absolutely feels oppressive on this map on defense, On attack, you can be also efficient, like holding flanks, because they will never be able to destroy like the walls that you're gonna do, like for, you know, B push here. You cannot shock out this. You have to trigger it yourself manually. So good luck, right? A wall over here as well, like whatever you put it, like you can make sure that you're not gonna get flanked from the main A or main B. And then the map is pretty simple otherwise. And on defense, it's nuts. On defense, it's actually unbelievably hard to go through Vyse. On A side, you have multiple walls. One is like this. And it has actually two angles of this wall. One is pretty close to this corner, and then the second one's a little bit like further away. So you can bait people into trying to like trigger it here, but then you reposition it here and they just jump into it. You kill them and they don't even trigger the wall. Like other wall just can be straight up line as this. And I can tell you that if I start with this wall, but then reposition towards this wall, then those people don't never know. They think that I swapped sides and they go trigger again. And it's like, oh my God, now we got isolated. And if you do this wall, there's always a guy standing here. So you, after isolating the one player on A side that goes through the trigger tip wall, you get a kill on him. And then you pre-fire this corner when the wall goes down and you always get a kill. Always. There's always a person standing here in ranked because they feel safe, like, oh, I'm gonna go into the corner over here, and you just pre-fire that. The moment the wall goes out, then they always die because of that. The flash from her is incredibly powerful. You can just adjust it to the way that you can be both flashing like tree and side, on the side, Jenny inside, like this. There's so many things that you can do with this flash on defense. Razor wines are just covering everything here. Like, good luck going through this if you trigger the wall. Like, you cannot really get out, you know? You can't really get out, and you're stuck kind of in this position, and you feel helpless when you do this. It's specifically also important to understand like how to reposition your razor wines when the other players are gonna use like shock darts from Sova. So you just kind of look and check how they do the shock darts, and then you can put the razor wines in different positions and still be efficient because of how big they are. And on B side, there's one wall that is like this, and that wall is giga broken, like giga broken. You have to commit to trigger it. Jet can dash over it, which is again like kind of a problem, but you have to deal with that somehow. But then there's no follow-up for this Jet. Like, she's gonna be alone. The other player, like, you can catch her, like you can be prepped if you know that she's gonna do that. You can already prep like a razor wine on this position over here, and you can then try to isolate the other player that follows her and gets trapped alone. So you have like 3 players main stuck behind the wall, Jet over here, and then one guy goes here, and you like just gonna flash him and kill him, and then take care of the Jet. The flash setup on this position just flashes everyone on main, and everyone going onto the lane and like switch like this. It's really incredibly powerful, and it's so hard to go through that. It's incredibly frustrating for the opponents for sure. And as you know, this map is just pure choke points. So essentially, if you play here as a solo sentinel, they will avoid you like a plague. So it's important for you to either swap sides efficiently if you're, I don't know, reading the opponents well, or just not show yourself which side you're on and then just wait and strike. But typically what happens when you're gonna have like a efficient Vyse player on defense on Ascent, they're just gonna start attacking through those lines, and then you have to bolster those defenses with other players. But that just narrows down how the way they will attack. Like holding mains as a solo controller, I don't think there's anything easier. I don't think there's another sentinel that is so easy to hold this. Like legit, I think holding B side and A side, the mains, is easier with Vyse than with Killjoy or Cypher on this map. So it's like you're more efficient at being an anchor, because you're kind of also like trying to kill opponents, which is not something that will be happening with like Killjoy, more with Cypher, because you can put kill traps, but then again, people will just do the full execute and you have to deal with multiple players, while Vyse is gonna be isolating the execute and slowing it down massively, and probably getting like a kill when the one guy commits and it's isolated from the rest of the team. So it's incredibly hard to play against her. And then on attack, you're able to just do sick razor winds that are covering almost the entire site. Like when you do an attack, you can do, I have lineups for this that we're going to release later on. Like you can, let me just delete this and put it them again. Like on attack, you can do such a setup for attacking B site. Like good luck like peeking out here. If they smoke badly on heaven, you do this. You know, that happens in ranked every time. You can put like razor winds in post plant, like here, to stop the retake. You know, if you still have them, of course. If you didn't use the wall for an anti-flank, like using a wall for retaking, splitting the retake over here is nuts. But there's also one more disgusting wall in post plant. It's so fun to use, is this one here. Like you get into post plant on A, you put this wall on heaven, and essentially what happens is you have like multiple players coming in, retaking from heaven. One guy jumps out, triggers the wall, and then the other two are like standing here and being like, what? And for 8 seconds, the retake got stopped in its tracks, and they just stand there like bots, and you get the kill on the one player jumping on site, and you increase the odds of winning the post plant. Like it's incredibly frustrating to play against. Like it's such an annoying wall. But yeah, this is the tier list. I think we're gonna revisit this in some time, but I think this is a pretty accurate, I would say, at least description of my own opinions. And Ascent is definitely the strongest map for her. Like I don't think that anyone can even dispute that. But if you have a different opinion about any of the maps, let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe, of course, if you like the content, and see you on the next video.